requirement document or FRD, um, it is different from BRD. So we have to know what's the difference between BRD and FRD, right? BRD is basically business requirement document, whereas FRD is nothing but functional requirements document. So as a business analyst, when business owners first they give you some kind of requirements, they will not know what is functional requirement and non-functional requirement because they are not IT people, right? So they may not know. But as a BA, you have to like separate and document all the requirements in different document. For example, BRD is like from business perspective, uh, how how the data is flowing from one system to another system, how an end user is like testing, and how we need to overall, right, as a end user, like how that application will work. So that is like business requirement document, whereas functional in the sense like this is mostly like you're giving this to a developer. Okay, so this is like mostly a technical document. Okay, so functional requirements and non-functional, for you have to first understand what is functional requirements and non-functional requirements. Functional requirement is something that our developer can like develop and test, and it is something like for an application to be to work, right? Any application, it could be a mobile application or web application or any kind of application. For an application to work, okay, as expected, the developer has to develop, right? He has to develop the application, he has to code and all that. So we are giving exact requirements like how what kind of process the developer has to follow, and how he needs to code. I mean, you're not going to say exactly how to code, but you're going to say how that application needs to work. Okay, so that is what is functional requirement document. Now, let's say when you create a functional requirement document, you need to like uh, first of all you have to understand that how long is this application is going to work. Okay, what is our 5-year plan or next 5 years or next maybe 3 years? How long it will take for us to uh, like how that application needs to work. Okay, that's how is we are going to write here. So first is like a demo, the application provides business objectives and business process in the 5-year plan. So for the next 5 years, this is how this application will work. And now first you have to document about project description, right? So what is this project and how is it application? For example, like you take a banking application. Okay, so let's say that Wells Fargo is a bank and they're coming to your IT team. They're asking you to develop an application for them, maybe a customer support application, something. Okay, they're asking you to develop that. You need to like describe overall what is that application, who is the client, what is the application overall, like who will be the end users and everything. So you have to give like a brief overview about this project. Okay, and next is like what are the conditions required for this application to be working. So we are going to add this is a generic template, but I will also explain you I will show you some sample FRD so that like you can understand how an actual document will be. But this is uh, like a skeleton. Okay, so generally when if you are a BA, you get into a project. This is what like is a standard format, I can say, that you can modify, but you can also use this format. So first is project description, then you can write about background, and then what is the purpose of this document, who is going to use this document. And next is what is the assumptions and constraint. Assumption is like, for example, a particular software, a particular database, or a particular a technology is available. So, for example, your developer is coding this application in Angular JS, right? So we are the assumption is like there is some developers who know that language. Okay, so that's a given. That's an assumption. So we are going to develop something in a particular language. We assume that that particular developer or a tester will be available, right? So that's what. So whatever assumptions you have and constraints, for example, you in order to execute a particular project, what are the government regulations and like what can limitations that you can have for this particular project. Okay, so that you need to write as assumptions and constraints. Next is like interfaces with external systems. Suppose your application, you are an IT team and you are integrating with different teams. How is that integration happening, and how is that your application is interacting with other external systems? Okay, so that also you need to write. Next is like point of contact. Who will be the project manager? Who will be the project leader? And who will be the business users? Everything. Okay, point of contact for I mean at least the major participants. You can write their name, and also you can also take document references. So for example, in order to create this FRD, what are the documents you used? Okay, other documents, or maybe you got some paper analysis, or you got different existing documents from different teams, or you have minutes of the meeting, you've scheduled meetings. So all that you can write, like how did you prepare this document, what are the references you use, that you can document here. Next is functional requirements. So this is what is very, very, very important. So when you're writing a functional requirements, you need to write data requirements and exactly what is the functional process and operational requirements. These three are very, very, very important. Of course, next is like security, these requirements too. But very important is this functional, okay, functional process requirements. For example, first is data. What is data requirements? Data means like what kind of business data that you're going to use. For example, like for the member, for the banking project, right? So you are using data from QA region, or you using data from UAT region, or you're using data from um, what are the eligibility criteria for the test data requirements, right? So when you're testing any application, it can be in development, it can be in QA, or it can be in UAT. We have to know, right, what are the test data requirements that we are going to consider. So in order for the testing team to set up some data, because everything is a mocked up data, so this is not real data, right? So once it goes to once our application code is moving to production, then it's going to be real data. Until then, okay, what kind of data that we are going to use, and how are we going to mock up those test data, and what kind of business data is required. For example, if they say that for Wells Fargo, the member should be an existing member. In order to use that application, that member should not be a new member. He needs to be with the bank. He needs to be a registered user. So that's a requirement from Wells Fargo. Okay. Now, when you set up the test data, right, it needs to be an existing member. You cannot use new members' details. So I'm just telling for an example of how this test data requirement should be. So in development, how it needs to be there; in QA, how it needs to be there; in UAT, what are the different requirements we're going to do in order to perform that end-to-end testing, how to set up those data, what are the uh, application data model that you are going to use. So this is not requirements for anything like a physical database. Okay, so this is like mostly test data requirements. How are we going to test this particular functionality? If you take a particular scenario, how to test that scenario, right? So those test data requirements you're going to write here, because seeing this only a developer will test. Seeing this requirement only a tester will be testing. So remember, this functional requirement document is mostly for your IT team, your own team. This document, right, a business owner cannot understand this document. This is mostly like technical, not too technical, but it is somewhat very technical only, like how to test a particular test data flow, and what are the test data that we are going to use, what are the mandatory assumptions that we have, and if we don't, what are positive scenarios and negative scenarios. So all that mostly will be handled by a developer and a testing team only. So when you write that, right, you have to like little bit mention about exactly what are the data requirements. Using this only, like your developer and tester, they'll assume and they will test accordingly. And functional process requirements, this is very, very important. For example, you are having an end-to-end flow. For example, like if it's a banking project, the application, the user logs in and then submits a loan application, and then the loan needs to get either approved or denied. So, okay, that's an application. So in that case, right, what is the functional process requirements? Okay, first is like you have to write about what are the different kinds of process, and like what are the different kinds of flow diagrams or any technique that you're using. Okay, how many positive scenarios are there, how many negative scenarios are there, in order to log into an application, what kind of criteria that we are going to use in order to apply for loan, what are the mandatory fields that needs to be popped up, and if suppose a mandatory field is not filled, then what kind of error it needs to be throwing. All that very detailedly you're going to write here. Okay, whatever you write here, the developer is going to code accordingly. So everything is like the logic behind every data flow and how the data needs to be processed end to end, and also from one, if you're interacting with, suppose you're querying the database and you're getting it from a third party application. Okay, so you want a member logs in, and if in order to get that loan eligibility, let's say that they are doing it by credit score. Okay, now for that credit score, your database doesn't have that credit score, so you have to externally, like maybe query a different database, or maybe like you have to pull that credit score from a different application, and then it should be showing in your application. Let's take that scenario. So you are integrating with that credit score application. Your application is like integrating with a third party application. So all that logic and how to test that, everything you need to write. Okay, so you may be asking that, okay, I'm not a technical person, and I'm a semi-technical person, and I'm not able, how will I know exactly? So for this, right, you need to take a help of an architect or a developer. You cannot create any document by yourself. So don't think that all the documents you have to assume and you have to write everything. No. For this functional process requirements, definitely you need help of an architect or a developer who exactly knows end to end how that system is going to like act, how it needs to process, or how, what kind of error the system needs to throw and all that. You cannot assume. You have to talk with the lead technical architect, whoever is available for this particular project, right? You have to talk with them, exactly get the requirements, then you have to document. Without the help of an architect or a developer, you cannot create this. Okay, so don't think that you will be doing this all alone. No, of course you're creating the document by yourself, but you will take help of other technical people. The next is operational requirements. So for example, like in order for this particular system to operate exactly like how the business owners want it, right, uh, uh, you need to like understand what are basically business needs, what is their priority, and how, what is not their priority. Okay, so for example, for some requirement they will not be bothered. They don't. They'll be like, okay, that is a rare occurrence, so let's not take a priority on this. Most of day-to-day like operations, what kind of struggles maybe a customer care will face, or how, what are the users like, what kind of problems they're going to face. So depending on, for example, like you create a banking application, member logs in, they are submitting the loan letter. What are the difficulties or error it may throw, and what kind of problems the customer care may get? What kind of um, I mean, like struggles a member may have. Okay, so all that will be, these are operational requirements. Exactly, if something is not working, what the member needs to do. So, for example, they are not able to log in, what the member needs to do, or if they are not able to submit their loan approval letter, what the member needs to do. So, you are like stating exactly uh, how it needs to be, how much the system is reliable, and how it will be processed. Okay, so operationally, when everything goes live and your system is like in prod environment, you're basically saying how that exactly that application needs to work. If something is not working, what they have to do. Okay, so that is operational requirements. Next is security requirements. Okay, security requirements in the sense, for example, for any kind of uh, application, right, we need to understand the data is highly sensitive, so we have to make sure that we are following all the government procedures, or what kind of security is required. If it's going to be a healthcare project, then like we need to follow HIPAA, or if it's going to be a banking project, they have their own industry standards or like security requirements, right? All that we are going to follow. Okay, so based upon whatever project that you are working, or domain that you are working, you have to like make sure that um, you write as much as you know, right? You write all the security requirements. Sometimes you're not aware of certain requirements, but a business owners, they will know, okay, what is data breach. So for example, in healthcare, if they're getting any letter, let's say that a member is getting any letter from the hospital, uh, or it's only the member should be able to get. If the member is not getting it, or member doesn't wants to get any letter, so he's going to the hospital, and member doesn't want any kind of letter to home, and he doesn't want any other people to read. So if he's like choosing like do not send, he's opting out, I don't send any letters, or don't send any kind of notifications to my email ID or phone. So, and you have to follow that. If you don't follow that and you keep on sending letters, that is a data breach actually. So, because you are not following the HIPAA rules in healthcare. Samely for banking also, they'll have their own, like you're not supposed to send that, I mean, the credit card and the PIN together. That's a data breach. It should be always sent separately. So, banking also, they have their own data security requirements. All that you need to like understand and document. It depends upon what project you're doing and what kind of security measures they take, that you need to add here. Next is this is not like this audit trail and data currency and all is not mandatory, but you need to understand that it depends from project to project. If you want, you can add. Otherwise, it's not like mandatory. But this reliability and recoverability, right? These two are very, very important. So reliability means like what damage can this system failure can, if a system is failing, right? Like what kind of damages it can do. So maybe loss of a human life, or ability to perform some critical function, loss of revenue, loss of employee productivity, whatever it is. So any if you are if working for a massive project and so many people are dependent on this IT application, and something breaks, okay, what is the impact or damage for the end user or the customer? Okay, so you have to like make sure you write that, and how much you can rely on this particular IT team or particular this application, how much you can rely on it, and if they suppose in case of failure, like how many times it will fail. You're basically you're writing that failure can occur maybe like only once a day or twice a day, or maybe how long it will take to fix the defect, or how to any prod defect, right? How long it will take, or if something goes wrong, what is the SLA, what is the alternate process that we are going to do. So if your some application is not working, then what is the alternate process that we have to follow, or in order to fix our defect, what is the SLA that we are going to follow. So all that you have to document here. So in the event of failure, right, how long, any system failure, how soon the that function will be restored, and if some database is corrupted, how long it will take for the prod support team to fix it, or maybe any kind of um, backup, right? Whether it's going to be any hardware or data issue or whatever it is, like how soon we can server issue, anything, okay? How we are going to fix that, okay? So how long it will take for to recover, that we can document here. But I'm telling you, business analyst will not know this, okay? So you have to like take a help of an architect or developer who has knowledge about this area, and then take their help and document. System availability. So when will the system be available? For example, there will be downtime issues. For example, system will not be available from Monday to Friday, and weekends it will not be available because we are doing some updates on that particular application. So and also we can when does the maximum usage, like when does a lot of like many users, when do they log in and use that application? So when is it, when can we see the usage at its peak? Okay, so we can all that we can document. So this is all little bit guess only, and then once the document goes into, I mean the application goes into production, after maybe a month or two, you can get the real data, and you can update your document accordingly. And also this performance. Yeah, so this is very important, okay? So performance, capacity, and data retention. So what is performance? Performance in the sense like um, how much expected volume of user activity, like number of transactions per hour, per day, or per month. For example, if 1,000 people are logging the banking application at the same time, whether the system can handle, or maybe the transaction they are using any API, some API, how many times they are hitting the API, or maybe if there is any file transfer, like how many documents can be transferred in a day. So all that is performance, right? So this and all, like how much volume can be processed, or how many files can be processed in a day, or how many users can access a particular application, or how many transactions per day, all this will come under performance. So this and all we cannot give it before the application is developed, right? This one we can maybe you can create the field here, and then once the product is live, and then after a month or something you can take the data, and then you can update the document accordingly. Or you can put estimated, but that is not accurate number will come only after the application has gone live, and then you take the data, right, for a month or two only, then you know exactly how much of volume, how much of users are hitting. But before that, if you're creating the document, you can always like add a field here and leave it blank. And also capacity. So capacity, you can to somehow you can estimate this, like for example, like how many for example, like list the required capacities and expected volume in business terms. So for example, number of cases, like example, like 1,000 users can use this in a particular day. If you exceed that particular number, then the system will fail. Or maybe 1,000 cases can be created in a month. If you exceed that particular number, then the system will fail. Like that, you can create a capacity, but this will not be very very accurate. Okay, sometimes even to process 100 cases, the system may fail. We don't know, because uh, we never know if the product has to go live, and then only we can get the actual data. But capacity is something like you can ask the developer how much transactions this particular application can handle, or maybe how many cases this particular system can create in a day. Something like that depends upon whatever application you are developing, right? The capacity will differ, and you can document that. So the requirements traceability matrix, I've already created a video on this and how to trace all these requirements and how to document it. So if you want, you can see that video and attach it here. And the last one is glossary. So glossary means like if there is any terminology that is very shortcuts, or any terminology that you have documented here in the um, this document, right, you can write here. So the owners who are reading this document, right, they'll be able to understand. Not only business owners, any IT people who will be reading this document, they'll be able to understand. For example, RTM is requirement traceability matrix, you can write that here. So this is a overall like a high level FRD. Now I'm going to show you the actual some so this is one of the example, and this is in one of the sample projects that we have done. We've listed the FRD here. So if you see in this document, you have table of contents, you have functional requirements, you have I can tell you, see here, they have description of that particular project, summary of that particular project, and they have listed the project in detail. And then next, like overall, they've also given an architectural diagram how that system, right, interacts, and overall about that project, right, IT project, what are the different data that is being transmitted to that application. All that is being given here as a diagram. And then if you see exactly, if you see the functional requirements, it is very clearly stated, like for this particular application, what are the functional requirements. Okay, everything is added here. See database design requirements, and then database update requirements. Then what is the maintenance planning for this particular application? And last is appendix. Okay, so this is something like a sample that's what is available. So I'm just showing you. If you want this document, just email me and I can send you. Okay, this is a actual document. Okay, I think this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please comment. And if you want this document, email to my email ID. I hope this session was helpful. Okay, thank you. Thank you for watching.